Look, I'm a liberal Democrat. I voted for Biden. I'm not going to vote for Trump if he runs for reelection. I want to have the right to vote against him.
Alan Dershowitz, that Trump-loving, lying Woody Allen lookalike sycophant. He doesn't want to vote against Trump. He wants to be able to vote for him. He was his lawyer during the first impeachment. And he's not a liberal Democrat. He's just saying that because Larry David called him disgusting in Martha's Vineyard and he wants back in celebrity circles. That's a real story. Look it up. I'm Ben Gleib, and in a minute, I'll tell you about Trump's terrible, horrible, no good, very bad week, where all things seem to be converging on him. But first, more on Alan Dershowitz, this poison on our society. I mean, just look at the angle he's shooting this video from. Is he doing it from a phone under his nostrils? Is he in a fun house? Is he in the Blair Witch Project? I mean, how can somebody even listen to someone who thinks that's an acceptable angle to... Oh. Everything he says is just stupid. He said you don't engage in a raid unless you've exhausted all other remedies, unless you believe the person raided will destroy evidence. Yeah, that's what they're doing. He said it as though that's proof that that's not what they should have done. You think Trump was giving evidence away? You think he's not going to destroy evidence at the drop of a damn hat? Dershowitz later told Fox News, based on what we now know, it was totally unjustified. You don't know anything yet. They haven't revealed what the warrant was for, and Trump refuses to reveal what it is for as well. So what I know, based on what I know now and I've always known about you, is that you are totally unjustified as a lawyer and person. He also said, quote, the whole process was wrong, and Trump was away at the time, so they can't say he was going to destroy anything. You can't ask somebody that's your buddy at the resort to destroy your documents? A and B, how would they ever know the exact moment you're going to destroy something? They have to believe you would probably destroy it if you knew they were closing in, so they have to surprise, close in, and take the documents. You don't need a Harvard law degree to figure that out. But this Harvard law professor idiot has been full of horrible arguments. He was Trump's lawyer, like I said, in his first impeachment, and made the absurd argument that Trump can't be impeached for withholding aid to Ukraine for political reasons, because if he thinks his own reelection is in the public's best interest, then he can do whatever he wants to make sure he gets reelected. The most insane, laughed-at argument possible. But he's a liberal Democrat that wants to vote against Trump, but just wants that right. Please put him on the ballot, pretty please, you disingenuous friend of nobody I respect. He also said a raid is supposed to be a last resort, but this administration has used the weaponization of the justice system against its political enemies. It's arrested people, denied them bail, put them in handcuffs, used all kinds of techniques that are not usually applied to American citizens. Have you seen America? That stuff's done to American citizens all the time. Especially black American citizens. Trump is now also suggesting himself that the FBI planted evidence. Thou doth protest too much. Thou doth protest because you stole classified documents, dog. And they still may not have found everything, as someone suggested in my DMs. Where at Mar-a-Lago could evidence have been buried where no one would have the balls to look? Maybe with his ex-wife who was just super creepily buried there just like a week ago. People don't slide into my DMs as sexy as they used to, by the way. Girls used to be trying to hook up. Now it's girls suggesting macabre political theories. I guess that's called growing up. But how weird was it that Trump buried her there? He did it for tax reasons, we all know that. But why was he even allowed to? They haven't been married for decades. He just gets to choose, I'll take my ex-wife, put her on the golf course. Don't make me bring up my theory that he had her killed. It's a totally unfounded theory. Simply because she supposedly fell downstairs and died that way, which sounds super fake. And I only bring up this unfounded theory because it's against the person who makes up total bull unfounded theories all the time, trying to ruin the country that I love, and so he deserves it. But there's prob documents in that gravesite. My opinion. Trump is, of course, pretending that this is another witch hunt to keep the poor baby down. Trump, quote, this is a weaponization of the justice system, okay? And an attack by radical left Democrats who desperately don't want me to run for president in 2024, which is total garbage because the FBI director was appointed by Trump. It's his guy. Trump did not replace Comey, I guarantee you, with a radical left Democrat. If he did, he could have just appointed himself in the 90s. And they're only trying to keep him from running from office because he committed crimes that specifically prohibit you from running for office. Because laws aren't just silly suggestions. They're real things. The Presidential Records Act dictates that anyone who willfully conceals, removes, or destroys any presidential records, or even attempts to do so, is disqualified from holding any office under the United States. But it doesn't apply to the Orange Monster. Why? Because he wears enormous ill-fitting jackets? That's not a good reason. I mean, you know the hypocrisy has reached new heights when even Fox News' Steve Doocy has to correct the record. Watch this Doocy of a clip. My new favorite pun.
Our FBI members, not the rank and file, as you pointed out, but those near the top, are they politically compromised? Are they acting as the Biden administration's own law enforcement team? Well, for example, given his rhetoric in 2 anti-Trump books after being fired from the FBI, does anybody really believe James Comey was apolitical as FBI director?
Right.
How about Andrew McCabe, right? He was fired from the FBI for leaking to the press during the Trump administration, and then he was lying about it. McCabe has a cushy job at CNN now. I could go on. John Brennan goes from CIA to MSNBC. You can't tell the difference between him and Keith Olbermann. And then James Clapper, same thing, is at CNN. He was at director of national intelligence at one time. They all seem so partisan after the fact. So why should we believe they weren't partisan when they were in those positions of power?
But Joe, they are all gone. They're all out of government service. And the person who heads up the FBI right now was appointed by Donald Trump.
Boom. Even Doocy do see the truth. Okay, that's my new favorite pun. Everyone's coming to Trump's defense on the Republican side, of course, because they all still are supporting a man who literally is still, once again, trying to overthrow our democracy. The head of the GOP, National Committee Chair Ronna McDaniel, said the raid was a reason for voters to come out in November. Look at the difference between a party that cares about people, the Democrats who say GOP anti-woman abortion laws and keeping us safe from gun violence are the reasons you should come out to vote in November. You know, stuff that affects people. And the Republicans, an empty party full of loser criminals, say you should come out and vote because one person is the victim of a legal system that's finally trying to enforce, laws, just on that one guy, the one crybaby criminal traitor president. The Republican Party's pitch to voters is, you should vote because Twompy Wumpy is sad. Rudy Giuliani said the raid on Trump's home is an absolute disgrace, and he feels embarrassment as an American. In Giuliani's defense, it's hard to speak correctly when you're a dollar store Dracula and an interview in daylight is making you melt, starting with the hair dye. When in reality, this just happened because they couldn't get the documents any other way, because Trump is an evil, lawless man who in just this very same week is facing a ramping up grand jury about his threatening call to the top Georgia elections official to find votes, thrown out NDAs from former Trump staffers so they can now speak the truth about this awful person, an appellate court ruling Tuesday that the House Ways and Means Committee can finally review Trump's tax returns. They've been looking for that permission for about 5-6 years. And what else? The Jan 6 committee perfectly proving his continued attempts to only overthrow our democracy, closing in on him more and more. And a separate case just yesterday where he pled the fifth 440 times to not incriminate himself for being a criminal and lying about the value of his properties to defraud banks, and of course, his favorite to defraud, the U.S. government. All in the same week. Trump himself has said many times that only guilty people plead the fifth. Perhaps the only time he's ever said something that rings as true. After all this intense news, I plead for a fifth of vodka. While I drink heavily, let's close this video out with a little montage of Trump railing on people who plead the fifth.
Taking the fifth, I think it's disgraceful.
The mob takes the fifth. If you're innocent, why are you taking the Fifth Amendment?
Fifth Amendment, Fifth Amendment, Fifth Amendment. Horrible. Horrible.
My new hour stand-up special, The Mad King, is that a Trump reference? Drops this Sunday on YouTube at 5 Pacific, 8 Eastern. Link will be in my Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter bios at Ben Gleib. In the special, I give you a chance to laugh at right-wing hypocrisy along with a huge crowd of people. You can also join me for a free watch party live at Nowhere Comedy on Zoom this Sunday at 4:30 Pacific, and we can watch and celebrate together. Tickets at nowherecomedyclub.com. Now, if you'll pardon me, that's the FBI at my door. No, it's not, because I'm not a criminal.